Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome everyone to Thursdays on the Stoop. My name is Warren Basla. I am an advisory board member of Blue Stoop and also a volunteer. I'm very excited to have Jeff Bender here with us. Jeff writes for McSweeney's, The Hard Times, Electric Literature, Reader's Digest, and other comedy sites. His fictions appeared in the Iowa Review, Fence, Electric Literature, and Guernica. And he recently completed his first headline trial for The Onion and is a senior writer for Sports Riot. He grew up in Philly and lives outside the city. And today, his session will be focused on news style satire. News style satire is exploding into different forms and markets. In this workshop, Jeff is going to break down key elements of satirical humor, elements of satirical news stories from headline to punchline. And participants will leave with a few headlines of their own and concepts for future articles. I am going to be going off video because I'll be admitting folks into the space, but I'll be here actively. If anyone has any questions or issues, technical issues, please let me know. Otherwise, Jeff, over to you.
Thank you, Warren. So, I was just asking where people are calling in from. I'll just round it out really quickly. So, Erica, if you can hear me, can you tell me where you're calling from?
Sure, I'm calling from Los Angeles.
You just said that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, no, you didn't. So, two people from Los Angeles. Sorry, Joyce and, or no, Tracy and Erica. And Ravneet, if you can hear me, where are you calling in from? That's okay.
Sorry, I was trying to mute.
Oh, that's okay.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
Philadelphia, great. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Blue Stoop Thursdays on the Stoop. Good thing we're not on the stoop today because it's very rainy outside. I want to start. Let's just start with a little writing. I'm going to try to keep it simple today and not do too much. But I've anticipated maybe some of your questions, and you can give me some of your exact questions. But here's how I want to start. Get something to write with, pencil and some paper. If you have a favorite pen or something like that. And I want you to start by just writing 3 to 5 of your pet peeves. That's all. Give you about 3 minutes. 3 to 5 of your pet peeves. I will join you. All right, what's coming up?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Absolutely. You know what? I can write it in the chat too. These are things I don't think I really need to. It might seem a little condescending to to talk about what a pet is, but I would just say the realer the better. What really and the more specific the better. Um, More specific to you, your life, your situation, your family, maybe. But try to get about 3 to 5. Okay, let's finish up. Okay. So what I want to say about pet peeves is this class is called New Style Satire. Satire is a form of complaint, but it is so magically, artfully, I guess, turned around that it doesn't seem like somebody's complaining. If you've gone to a satire site, and there are now kind of many of them, and you read a headline and you laugh at it, your last thought would probably, I mean, I can't imagine that you'd be thinking, oh, that's somebody complaining about something. But a lot of times, and I won't say every time because there are kind of varieties, but a lot of times that's what it is. Um, and so already we are off to a very unfunny start, and I promise you it'll get less and less funny. But then hopefully it'll get a little bit funny toward the end. But really, I really think people's best comedy comes from anger uh, and representing something or somebody that you're angry with. Um, so satire is it's just an artful complaint that somehow doesn't sound like complaining. So what I want to do today is that there are a lot of varieties of satire, but I want to focus on the pet peeve and how you can turn that into comedy and how you can turn that into a headline that I would call loaded, which just means it has some kind of subtext. It has some kind of room. Um, what I write here. They complain about something that strikes you at the heart. Boom, right here. If you can write, I mean, I think in so many different genres, and I'm just going to assume everybody here loves comedy and writes in other genres. If you write in other genres, that's a huge plus. Um, Something that strikes you at the heart and that can go the distance. It's like a headline where it's like there's more there. It's not just like you're seeing everything, and it invites you to read the article to discover that more. Um, they can be written about, or as it's called in comedy, mapped. They can be mapped, which means that it's just like an extended metaphor in poetry. We're making an extended metaphor. I love comedy because I don't really love academics. Even though I teach at a college, I'm not a very academic person. I love highbrow stuff to an extent, and I love lowbrow stuff. And this type of comedy is really a mix. I really think it helps have a training in the highbrow, but an appreciation for the dumb. And in one of the groups that I write for, when the editor says that's so dumb, that's like the highest compliment that you can hear. That's so dumb. Um, I did go to MFA school at Columbia. I had a teacher named Amy Hempel. I don't know if anyone's heard of her, Amy Hempel. She's a fiction writer. She wrote this great article. I have it on my computer, so I'll just post it in the chat for you, but it'll take me a second. So when we're writing next, I'll post it. She wrote this article in Vanity Fair called Captain Fiction. And it's about the writing teacher named Gordon Lish, who was the editor for a lot of maybe writers that you love and appreciate who wrote in like the late 70s and 80s. And something that Gordon Lish says, she quotes him in the article, is in Lish's class, this is her talking because she was in Lish's class. Um, I'm just writing it for you. She says in Lish's class, it's not write what you know, but don't write what you haven't paid for and through the nose. Through the nose just means like extremely. Don't write what you haven't paid for. I find that a lot more useful than write what you know, because we can write something that we know, and it could just, I don't know, and maybe not be that fueled or what I would call loaded. But don't write what you haven't paid for. I really encourage you to think about, what have I paid for? What have I what have I endured? I'll give you an example. One of my pet peeves, I can't handle it really, is when somebody's showing me something like on their phone, or it used to be when I was in high school, on the computer, and they couldn't access it. And I would wait until I would just be standing there waiting while they kind of like went through many different channels to find this thing and sometimes would never find it. I don't know why I want to just run from that situation. If you call me over to look at something on your phone and then you can't find it, and you think and you say, "Oh, where was that?" And now I have to wait for you to go through everything to find it. I can't stand. Maybe you can, and that's fine. Okay, but what I've tapped into is a little bit of hot blood, a little bit of fire, and that's a good thing. And so, maybe I can make comedy out of that. Um, I know someone who was a research librarian, and I couldn't, I just couldn't. There's okay, Gordon Lish, thank you. It was just very difficult for me. They would want to show me something, and then it would take them so long to find it. So I actually made a headline out of it, and it's, let me see, I can find it. I'll share my screen. Um,
Do we have to wait while you find it, Jeff?
yeah, I can now. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's the satire headline that I made for it, and then I wrote it. And I would say in this case the headline for me was like pretty much funnier than the article, which I thought the article was like a little hard to write. It was okay, but it was probably like also exactly what you would expect. So that's just an example of a headline that just came from a pet peeve of mine. And I really feel it. And sometimes more than others. If you're the type of person who like loses sleep overnight because of the unfairness of something, or just something's happening in your family or in a relationship, that in the moment is not pleasant at all, and it's never pleasant, but it can become comedy. Um, and it could go a couple different ways. And so I just want to talk briefly about the news style versus I would say like op-ed or blog style comedy. I just want to draw a line of distinction because I think that's pretty important. And I do think you can write both, and I do think you can write both for news style markets. However, I just want to make sure we're clear on the distinction. Okay, in the chat, write down write down any news style satire markets that you know. Go ahead. Just fill the chat with them. I'm just gonna watch. The Onion, yes. Amy Beth, thank you. The Onion, yeah. That's a great one. McSweeney's. Okay, yeah. We'll talk about McSweeney's. The Daily Show, yes. The Daily Show. Satirizing news in general, very good. The Beaverton, Canadian. Yeah, that's a really good one. I think. I love the Beaverton. Palette swap, never heard of it. Ryan, can you talk about what palette swap is?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just a smaller publication of like satire news over like gaming. So similar to Hard Drive.
Yes. I'm gonna put hard drive. There's one in Philadelphia. It might be a Philadelphia sports satire site. Has anyone heard of it? No? Any others that you've heard of or know about? I think this is helpful to see just that there's more out there than just the Onion. Well, I'm gonna put a couple. Has anyone heard of Reductress? One of my favorites, I write for the Hard Times. Sports Riot is another one I write for. End of the Bench Sports, I don't write for, but I like them. I love the Reductress. Funny News. Oh yeah, Funny News. That's like a physical publication, right? Amy Beth? Yeah. The Seattle Needling, which is specific to the city. Oh, the Boston Accent. So there are some that are city specific, and they're gaining traction. And there is one in Philadelphia. I can't remember if it's just Philly, like in general, or Philadelphia sports. But I would say not a bad place to look if you just Google Philadelphia satire publication. All right. So the thing about all of these that they pride themselves on is editorial voice. The Onion and Reductress and the Hard Times, to name a few, are very adamant that there is a certain headline or a certain type of satire that is what we publish. And they're very particular about this. Every publication that I've talked to or written for, they're like, that's not a blank headline. That's just not it might be funny, but I've been told by the editor of the Hard Times, who I talk to and write with, one time I like was pitching him a headline. He said, "How's that a Hard Times headline?" And he was right. The Hard Times it's called punk news, but it's basically like music satire. They'll do anything political, pretty much, as long as it's making fun of basically the Republican Party. I don't know if you find that fair or not fair, but it's a liberal publication, and they'll do a lot of family stuff. So that headline I just showed you, Mom can't wait to show you article she can't find or some video she can't find. That was Hard Times because they for some reason they have a soft spot for family. But there's a one of my favorite Onion headlines. It's just a woman in a like department store holding up a top, and it just says "top cute." That would sink in the Hard Times. So these are not like compatible. It's like different countries have different outlets in the wall. These have different outlets, and so it really, as much of a pain as it is, it really does help to see the voice. And by and large, the editors will demand and uphold the integrity of that voice because they don't want to be the other ones. Okay, there's one that I'm gonna mention here that you wrote, which is McSweeney's. Somebody wrote McSweeney's. Okay, so in the McSweeney's is not news satire, though it is very much satire, and I don't want to. I just want to again draw the line here. They say in their submission guidelines, don't send us news satire. Again, a publication drawing the line, saying these are the boundaries. They say like there's already a publication that does that very well. So, and what they're referring to is the Onion. News style satire is just pretty much exactly, the Onion satirizes the New York Times. They always have. That's what they say they do. So what their comedic techniques are generally when they satirize the New York Times. Generally speaking, a lot of times what they're doing is the great made small and the small made great. So I'll show you a couple. I'll show you a couple examples. The small made great. This is one of my favorite headlines. It's really great with the picture. It's an old headline. Cat General says war on string may be unwinnable. So it's the small. It's cats playing with string, blown up to like, international warfare, size, basically. It's the small made great, and that's what's ironic about it, and that's what's funny about it. If cats actually had a publication. This might be in it. I wish you could see. If you could Google a picture, it's actually a cat in like a general's uniform with all these like medals on it. It's really funny. Or the Great Made Small, Ahmadinejad kind of getting back into old REM again. So it paints him, this world leader, as like like a hipster in Brooklyn, thinking, you know what I listened to the other day? Green by REM, and you know what? It wasn't bad, or something like that. So the Great Made Small, that flip is just like so funny. But just notice what they're doing here. If you can like do this, if you can just write something like this and it's not even funny, um, you're like part of the way there. It doesn't say which cat general because we need to be economic. It doesn't say war on string. Says that it leaves out the word that here. Says that, and it leaves out the word the war on string may be unwinnable. So it kind of like mimics a full sentence, but it takes out to be verbs. It takes out generally articles like a, an, and the. It takes out the word that a lot, just to be economical. You'll also notice that for the Onion, if you're writing for the Onion, every word is capitalized. Every word, doesn't matter if it's a preposition or whatever. It doesn't follow like normal capitalization standards. So those are just a few things for writing for this particular publication. If I show you another one, let me see. I like this one. It's one of my favorites. Oh, they actually capitalize the F. Usually they don't. Here we go. This is the hard times. Children starving in Gaza wish Trump would use them to distract from Epstein's scandal. It's actually like a really sad headline. I think it's poking at kind of the unsaid. And they don't capitalize the infinitive to, and they don't capitalize prepositions and stuff like that. So when you're submitting, I just think it's important to take a look again at the specific publication, and mimic how they write articles. They always do a city, they do a dash to start it. The Onion, I think, generally does a city as well. And then they usually end with at press time, this happened. That phrase at press time. Anyway, so these are just like a couple things. If you want to write news style satire, they completely honor the news style format. All of them do. Here's one more. The reductorist. This is one of my favorite ones. Man blissfully unaware. I don't know why. That's just funny to me, and the photo is funny. But it's just, again, it's not like borrowing. It's not like stealing from the Onion. They're just honoring new style satire, which says drop the word is. Don't use that. So instead of saying man is blissfully unaware, or instead of saying like John is blissfully unaware, they have like the anonymity factor. They take out the verb. Maybe you're all familiar with this. I don't know. I don't want to be too like presumptuous. I'm going over this briefly because I want us to actually try to write some headlines. Do all these places ask for a pitch? Oh, great question. All right, let's go over that. Let's go over that in a little bit. Amy Beth. On the other hand, McSweeney's or Shouts and Murmurs or Points in Case or the Belladonna or places like that. They do not do news style satire. So I think that's kind of an important point. They do more blog style. It's just not. It's got its own thing, but it's not headlines. They're titles of pieces. They're not headlines. So I would just go to the McSweeney's. That's like a really, really good, solid, kind of like straight satire. I want to call it McSweeney's style satire. And just notice how it's different from news satire. So news style satire is just that. It mimics the news, and you could see it on a headline in a newspaper. I wonder if anybody can recall in the chat like a favorite headline or article. Or if you want to write it in the chat, or if you want to just kind of shout it out.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but something in the Onion, I think, was feminist takes a break to watch Say Yes to Their Dress.
All right, Amy Beth, thank you. Why is that? Why do you laugh at that?
That's a good question. That's why I'm here.
That's okay. I mean, one of the any ideas why do we laugh at that, or why is that funny, or if you don't think so, why do you think other people think it's funny?
Because it's feminism is treated as a sacred cow, maybe wrongly, but and so it's poking at a sacred cow.
Okay, very good.
Is
Very
it,
good.
is it also because there's like two opposite things that are being put together?
What are they?
Well, feminism, and then you would think feminism is opposite of Say Yes to the Dress is like it's about brides, isn't it? Right. So that sort of traditional mindset of being a bride and being married and having a wedding versus the idea of feminism and the opposite of that.
Very good. Yeah. That is, I think, really the touchstone of a good headline is it's just this word that we hear a lot, irony, which it took me a while, I think, throughout high school and college. I heard mostly smart people say that word, and I thought, oh, irony. I remember one of my friends was like, he was talking about Pulp Fiction, and he said, "What's in the glowing suitcase? Oh, could it be like irony?" And I was like, wow, that's really smart. And now that think about it, and something like someone says maybe to be smart, I think what do you mean? What does that mean? What do you mean irony? No, irony is a very simple thing. It's about opposites. And you hit the nail on the head, I think, Joyce. Why that's funny is that, yeah, it's like the opposite of what you would think a feminist would do. However, it does also kind of seem like it could be something someone does. Um, it's these two things that are both at the opposite ends of the spectrum, and it seems like maybe this is not a line but a circle where they meet up, in the middle. So yeah, that is just a purely beautifully ironic headline. Thank you, Amy Beth. Woman takes short half-hour break from being feminist to enjoy TV show. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, and Ravneet, do you want to talk a little bit about it? What you mentioned?
Yeah, cognitive dissonance. Can you guys tell I was a psych major? This is like the quote unquote official term. So you have a belief and you act in turn, you act not according to that belief. And so there's like it's called cognitive dissonance in your mind, which causes discomfort. So we're making fun of this discomfort. Like, oh, your beliefs are this, but like your beliefs won't allow you to do this. So yeah, that's what I meant.
Great.
You can
Great.
also picture her like secretly watching, like in a dark room watching the TV, like with all the blinds closed. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. It strikes at what seems to maybe be a secret. It makes me think of another Onion headline: Victoria's secret, also Andrew's secret. The unsaid sort of, the people's secret lives that they're not willing to reveal, just being exposed in newspaper headline format, front page format is just kind of a funny thing. We wouldn't do that normally. Any other thoughts about why this one is funny? The woman who takes a short half-hour break to watch TV. kind of like Amy Beth's version of it a little better. Bringing the private public. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. The kind of true thing that's unsaid. I saw another Onion headline about feminism, which was like, man brought in to save struggling feminist organization. You know, that might be funny. That's also kind of like really not funny. But it's a certain like voice, I guess, certain Ed voice writing that one. All right, let me see. So I would say just a couple more things. Then I want to actually try to write some headlines. And here's my rule number one: they don't have to be funny. I want them to represent a pet peeve of yours somehow, and I want them to be in newspaper format. And that's all I'm going to ask you to do. It doesn't have to be funny, but I do want you to share. We don't have to laugh. But I want everybody to share. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from scratch here. I'm not going to be like, oh, I wrote this one like 8 days ago and I love it, you know, etc. But go from scratch, work with one of the pet peeves that I wrote earlier, and try to just to make a news style ironic headline out of it. I'm going to say irony. Oh, Julia, thank you. Also something we can relate to. Yes, the joy of taking a break from something hard. That's awesome. That's great. It is super relatable. That's great. Irony, meaning like the opposite of what we would think. So Ahmadinejad, you know, has you know, some pretty serious concerns. You wouldn't think he'd be like taking time to or have the time to like get into old REM, and how does he even know REM? You know, I don't know. I'm sure he's heard some songs. Just general silliness. The Onion says, you know, that's like candy to the Onion. It's not their main meal, but some of their headlines are just purely silly. The Cat General one, I think there's no weight to it. There's no real like, it's not about life or death. It's not touchy. It's just silly. So not everything has to be based on your pet peeves. That's just the exercise I want to kind of lead us through today. Punching up is important, I think. No publication will punch down. I'm sure somebody in this room knows what I mean by punching up and punching down. Can someone kind of talk about that? What is meant by punching up versus punching down? If you don't, that's fine.
Perhaps it is a headline that offers room for creative discussion and interpretation and is not insulting or disparaging.
I would say
often with an insult, you end the conversation. But when you are more subtle and more nuanced and more vague, more subtle and nuanced and kinder, you allow for people to engage with your content in like a more creative way.
Yeah. I would say some satire is meant to insult. Let's use that word, Julia. Insult. I like that. But we're gonna insult to a group that is more powerful and more influential, and sometimes maybe just plainly more wealthy, rather than punching down to a group. So we're not going to make fun of, for example, the handicapped community. That's called punching down. We're not going to say like, the joke is not going to be, look, this person is in a wheelchair. That's never going to be the joke of one of these satire sites. Instead, we're going to punch up to people who are more powerful than we are, basically. That's why you see President Trump all over the Onion website. Or like in the hard times, like a really popular rock band is gonna get satirized because they're in a position of power, and so that's just called punching up.
Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Hyperbole. It's just sometimes just exaggerating what's happening. It can be a strong headline. Let me see if I can find an example here. Well, you know what? You can browse with me. I've here, let me see. Share screen. Amy Beth, that comment about like me having to find these is a little bit on the nose. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me. But yes, you're totally right. This is one of my favorites. That's just silly, I think. But it's true. Sometimes. Oh, I love this one. This is the small made great. You know, why would this be a news headline? And also, like, that is so not that is so there's no ambition. It's like usually it's this tale of ambition. Like screenwriter hopes to sell to Hollywood, and this is somebody who just hopes to get a couch. We've seen that one. I love this one. This is recent. Just kind of silly, I would say. Um, oh, there we go. Somebody used to do something about all the problems, just silly. Okay. I could go I could go into more, but I want to give us a little bit of uncomfortable time to actually write headlines and share headlines. So let's take 3 or 4 minutes. And if you can eke out 2 headlines in that time, just give it a try, 2 or 3. So we're going to be silent until about maybe 47 or 48 right now. Just kind of trying to write a headline um, based on one of your pet peeves. You know what? Continue to write. I thought earlier. I thought it might be helpful if you just like watch me struggle through one. So one headline or one pet peeve I said is just all types of flakiness. So I might have something like you know what? I'll put these up on the chat. But I'm thinking something like okay, the word friend, because I that is often like a source of flakiness. Friend wants to know. Okay, I'm just gonna. I was gonna say like, it's too bad. It's not good. I'm not gonna share it with you, but yeah, I'll share it with you. And so I would say it's like not terrible, not but um, it can be better. Um, friend wants to know. I'm gonna do one more draft and then I'm gonna kind of set us free. Um, I feel like that's a little bit better. Friend asking for good time. He can totally space on meeting up with you. I'd say it's not there yet though. So I don't know. Based on a pet peeve, new style, that's what I want from you. If you haven't started writing, just give it a try. Take a couple minutes, and then maybe we'll hear some of these. Whoops. Okay. I put 3 resources for you in the chat. One is This American Life story on the onion and the process of the onion. Just a little caveat, it's from 2008. So Scott Dickers is no longer there. Number 2 is a roundtable they did at the New Orleans Book Fair of the editors of The Onion, Shouts and Murmurs, McSweeney's, and Reductress. They're all talking with the comedian, the comic writer Mike Sachs. And then 3 is the Captain Fiction article from Vanity Fair. So I would, if while we're sharing these, I would take a second just to put them on your computer. The other thing I want to say is I am teaching a 6-week class on new style satire through Hugo House in Seattle. It's Mondays this fall, October 6th to November 10th, 8 to 10 Philadelphia time. The maximum occupancy is 16. It's very much like Blue Stoop, but it's in Seattle. And if you're interested, message me in the chat, just like a private message with your email, and when they create that flyer and the ad, I will send it to you. So send me just your email address is fine, and I will send you the official announcement of that class. Does anybody have a okay, thank you. Does anybody have a headline that they want to share with us tonight? I would love if we could all just read one headline. Oh, there we go. Ryan, slow walker, probably good person. Okay, Ryan, thank you for sending that. Can you talk a little bit about it, where it comes from?
Yeah, so really it sort of was almost like a race for my hand to go to the paper once you said uh write down a pet peeve because this one is just it's so silly too. People walk at their own pace, some people can't walk more quickly, but you get stuck behind one and it is just really frustrating, especially if you have somewhere to go. And you kind of have this separation between them and you, as far as you don't see them as much of a person as you see them as sort of an obstacle in a really horrible subconscious way. But I mean, in that moment you dislike them a lot, but they're probably a good person. Like if you just stop to talk to them for a second, you probably find you have something in common, and they're really not as awful as the person clogging up the sidewalk for the 5 seconds that they just interacted with them.
That's very good. The thing I really like about this, you have a lot to say about it. It is what I would call a pretty loaded headline. It also kind of maybe smacks at the existential. It's well, maybe this person is just enjoying life and not rushed. And what's wrong with me that I'm get out of the way? That sort of thing. It is pretty loaded, and there's a lot of unfunny psychology. You tell me, Ravneet, but it seems like there's a lot of unfunny psychology that is attached to it that goes to creating a comedic headline like this one. Slow walker, probably a good person. If I were your editor, I might just say I think it's good. I would give it a B, which is good. I would say, and how could you amp it? Now, I don't know. How could you amp it? Without making it 30 words, that I think is the struggle or the challenge. Thank you, Ryan. Anyone else? Can anyone else willing to send a headline in? Here we go.
Oh, so
No,
okay,
that's
I was gonna say I could read mine, but you were
let's
about to read one from the chat, right?
go. You go ahead, and then Erica, and then we'll read Ravneet's from the chat.
Okay, so this is so out of my wheelhouse. I'm like a poet and I'm stupid. I never get satire. Everyone has to explain to me what it means. But this is this is fun. This was my go at it. Okay, wealthy neighborhood raises millions for cancer-stricken newts hospital. Immediately protests low-income housing nearby.
Can you write it? Can you write it in the chat?
Yeah. It's really long and doesn't make sense, probably. Okay, I'll do that.
Oh, Hannah, thank you. I'm just going to read Hannah's aloud. Southern Baptist responds to abuse crisis among pastors by banning gay marriage. Okay, that's a really sharp political, um, satirical headline. Punching up for sure. Really good job using the news format. And yeah, punching at this at the irony of this pastor abuse, largely to young boys, and banning gay marriage. Totally ironic. Erica, read this again for us now that we can see it.
Okay. Wealthy neighborhood raises millions for cancer-stricken Newt Hospital. Immediately protests low-income housing nearby.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
Well, I have a disability and I'm often struggling with financial stuff. And I have like wealthy friends, and I just can't even like beliefs. I love newts. I have nothing against newts, but like people can't even put food on their table. And the newt is like on death's door, and they're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to save this newt. And I know that I love animals. So this is controversial because people get mad at me when I say that. And then they think, but then on top of it, it's like, people I feel often are do-gooders, but then at the same time for ridiculous things, and then they won't allow like housing near their neighborhoods. And I think they should look at themselves.
Yeah. I think the newt is a particularly good choice because it couldn't be smaller and kind of like less consequential. And then we're good people because we're raising monies for this hospital, this newt hospital. And then yeah, are you going to the protest tomorrow night for the protesting? Yeah, that's really good. I would just say shorter,
Yeah.
shorter, but the headline is in there.
Cool.
I think it's such a great concept, but it's not yet in, like, I would say, headline shape. No, I would say no first headline, no first draft of a headline. It's like anything is really like in great shape, unless you think of one that's like 4 words and you're like, wow, I don't know how I did that, But almost all of these stand to be kind of rewritten. Darcy gave us a number of really good ones. Thank you, Darcy. Ravni, can you talk about yours for a second? Pickup driver.
I think that one is just hateful. Because someone was about to hit me one time at a stop sign because they didn't see it. So it's probably more rage filled than ironic, but just wanted to contribute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Pickup driver kills one. So very serious. Stop sign too low. Yeah. Yeah, I think again, I think the concept is there. It's a funny concept. Um it's seems definitely to be punching up. I don't know why, maybe because pickup trucks are so big. But yeah, I would say just keep working on the language of it, and the clarity. These are all on their way, which is exactly where I want to be at the end of class. Scott Dickers, the founder of The Onion, he does a lot of stuff now for people like us who are just writing comedy and not at his level maybe. His brand is called How to Write Funny. I would join that Facebook group. Something that he says to do is write 10 jokes a day. 10 jokes a day. I do it on my phone in my notes app. I try to hit 10. And his idea is like maybe one of them is good. And you can work with that. And it's a really good headline generator. I just want to close tonight by saying we didn't get to a lot of your headlines. I'm gonna write you a little comment, Darcy. But to address something that Amy Beth asked earlier, it looks like Amy Beth had to hop off, so I'll talk to her. But what are like the submission guidelines? How do I submit? The Onion or sorry, yeah, the Onion comes around once in a while. You have to check their website, their job openings. You can be not in Chicago and still write headlines for them and jokes for them. But you have to apply to a formal Chicago job, basically. And then they'll say, well, we're not going to offer it to you. And you'll say, good, because I don't live there. I don't want to move there. But maybe you do. I don't know. But we're going to give you a headline trial. And you can do that from anywhere. But if you get into How to Write Funny, the Facebook group, somebody on that group is going to say, hey, the Onion's hiring. And you'll be keyed into it. And then you can apply. Reductress once a year around this time, if you go on their website, offers a kind of everyone a headline trial who signs up. The Hard Times, there's an email. You send jokes to this guy named Dan Rice, who's like really funny. And he will get to them eventually and get back to you or not. But I would just keep sending because they like to see people keep trying. Every place does, even though it may not seem like it. What was the other one? And then I guess the other thing I would say is like just go to these websites. Ryan, you mentioned one, I forget what it was called. Just go to the site and see, is there a contact? And like if they don't have submission guidelines, just contact them and say, hey, I'm a big fan. How do I submit? If you know somebody who writes for them, get in touch with them. But every place has a specific voice and every place has specific submission guidelines. And I would just say, again, try to get onto How to Write Funny Facebook group with Scott Dickers. It's like this orange and white and then black and white kind of logo. I do have your emails if you sent your email in. I'm going to hang out a little bit after class, just reading some things in the chat. But otherwise, thank you very much. I hope you have a little bit more insight into the satire world. And if you're interested in taking my 6-week class, we'll just cover all of this stuff and your work like more in depth. Warren, you're back.
I'm back. And Jeff, thank you so much for your time and your insights. And I followed along, and I'm going to keep my first drafts of my headlines to myself until I rework them later. So super engaging session. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who joined us and participated. I just dropped a number of links in the chat. We at Blue Stoop want to hear from you. So if you have any feedback that you'd like to share, it's taken into account to make sure that we continue to provide great content like today's session. There are some summer classes that are still open, and please follow along in our newsletter. It's the easiest way to see what's going on. This session is recorded and will be sent out in the upcoming newsletter. And I'll just hang on for a second here, keep the room open, but I'm going to stop the recording now.